You're going to class with me? Cut out for later. There we go. That'll work. All right. This morning, we're going to be in Luke 18, 1 through 8. Luke 18, 1 through 8. We back up a little bit from Wednesday's class. We kind of got started into it. Does somebody want to read that, please?
And he spake a parable unto them to this end, that men ought always to pray and not to faint, saying, There was in the city a judge who feared not God, neither regarded man. And there was a widow in that city, and she came unto him, saying, Avenge me of mine adversary. And he would not for a while, but afterward he said within himself, Though I fear not God, nor regard man, yet because this widow troubleth me, I will avenge her, lest by her continual coming she weary me. And the Lord said, Hear what the unjust judge saith, and shall not God avenge his own elect, which cry day and night unto him, though he bear along with them? I tell you that he will avenge them speedily. Nevertheless, when the Son of Man cometh, shall he find faith on the earth.
All right. What did this widow ask for?
Justice.
Okay. Let's give them the main news for a walk. What is it compared to, how do we go about this today? I'll go start there. Where this widow was up asking the judge continually for help against her enemy. What do we do, or what should we do on a regular basis?
Pray.
Pray to God. All right. Let's look at Luke 21:36. Does somebody want to read that, please?
Watch therefore and pray always, that you may be counted worthy to escape all these things that will come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man.
Okay. I went into the counted worthy part and kind of looked at that, and that is also to have strength. With prayer, does it not make us stop and think about things a little bit if we're asking for something? I mean, it should at least make you aware of your surroundings, things that are going on in your life, things that are going on in other people's lives. It's not something you're just half-heartedly doing, really. Generally, if you're asking God for something, it's something that you need. Not necessarily like I want a brand new car or brand new something else. It's more of a, hey, I'm in need of something here, or help with something. All right. Got it in front of me. I wrote it down. Why was the judge unjust?
He didn't regard God or man, so he just did out for himself.
Let's look at Deuteronomy 16:18.
Judges and officers shall thou make thee in all thy gates, which the Lord thy God giveth thee throughout thy tribes, and they shall judge the people with just judgment.
What kind of judgment were the judges supposed to have?
Just.
Just, right? Well, if you're being just, or if you're being, I can say kind. Just person will either say yes or no and not have any stake in it. They're not getting any kickback. What do you think is going on at this time? Is what I've read into studying this. How were the Jews at this time, or how were judges? Not a whole lot different than today if you think about it. What's money usually do?
Buy someone.
And,
What you want.
okay, and well, we'll get you what you want. And a widow during this time, would she have been able to have a job or have anything that really made her a lot of money?
Probably not.
Nope. And if you don't have any money, can you bribe anybody with anything? If you don't have any money, you're kind of stuck. So the judges, a lot of times weren't just per se, where this judge is showing it as the unjust and no fear of God or respect of man. If you don't fear God, you don't have anything that's really going to faze you. But is that being right? No. So the judges were to be just and then judge the case fairly versus can be bought.
Well, that verse in Deuteronomy 16:17 talks about the bribe. Not to turn, it was 19, talks about not taking a bribe. I read that real quickly and I thought I said bribe. I was like, what? I read it twice. I was like, oh, that makes more sense.
That's a new one. I could be nice and let you have my glasses. It'll be like wearing telescopes on your face.
I remember that. Bribe.
That would be a new one for me too. I hadn't heard of that one before, but no, they weren't to take bribes, but we see it throughout that people are that way. Whatever will get them ahead. And this judge didn't do it, but as we'll read on here, we'll see some other things he did do. Okay. Why did the judge finally help the widow? How many times do we have kids come up and say, hey, I want this. Hey, I want this. Hey, I want this. Hey, I want this. And eventually you just give it to them because you're
worn down.
tired of listening to them. They're annoying. I've got one in the back row that's studying and the other one's just rolling her eyes. We can guess which one. But, that works for everything. A lot of times if somebody's asking for something and just continually, they're going to be the ones that get the answer, at least on earth, in our view, because a person gets tired of having to mess with us. And I found another word in my Bible this morning. I'm going to say this wrong because I'm going to stutter or something. Because importunity, actually it came out correctly. But I had to look this word up because it was kind of weird, something different for me. And it's persistence, especially to the point of annoyance. I learned a word. I think I know people like this. But again, it was stating the widows, it was that kind of action that got the judge's attention. How many times have we been annoyed in our life?
Too numerous.
Just
Laura was quick to say that.
I'm not going to argue. I've got a little box that sits on my table where I have to poke in a keyboard. It's annoying all the time. So, no. So, those that her continual annoyance of the judge is what got his reaction. As we see down through there, we get to that point. And then it goes on and says, then the Lord, in verse 6, and the Lord said, hear what the unjust judge said. And shall God not avenge his own elect who cry out day and night to him, though he bears long with them? Is God listening? When you stop and think about that a little bit, if we take what he said here about this widow annoying the judge enough to help him, that should give us a pretty good understanding of how we should go about praying and or asking God for things. You know, does he know what we need?
Yes.
Yes. Could he just give it to us? Would we be as appreciative of it?
No.
No. So if we stop and we ask for something and continually do that, we're going to have a better liking of what we receive, I guess, respect for what we receive. And then what happens if we don't get it in the timely? How many of us want something, if you're doing a project, excuse me, how many of us want something that we asked for yesterday? A minute and a half ago. I mean, most of us are short, impatient, that's what I want to say. And you're just after it now. You know, or you like an answer right now. I mean, half the time you ask somebody for something and you don't get you text somebody and you don't get a reply back. Yes, I know. Because I ignore her. And we get a reply back or we don't get a reply back. If we don't get a reply back, do we ask again?
Yes.
Generally, especially if it's something that's important. And our reaction to God should be the same way. We should be sitting there. And
Maybe we're not asking in quite the right fashion too.
that's what I was wanting to get towards, was we're not asking of it of the right way. Or we just want it faster than what we can really do something with it.
And God knows best, so he's gonna grant it however he sees that we need it, if he grants it.
Maybe we need to do a little more work.
I also got to digging, and that's the interesting part with it, is with this, it shot me back to Moses and pretty much every one of the Old Testament, Abraham, Job. I was going to say Job. I had to make sure I got that said right. But it shot me back to all those and give me instances in each one of their lives on their asking for things and the way they went about it. And it shows you that if they did it, how long did a lot of them have to wait for something? A lot of times it wasn't immediate. And to get over anxious, I guess is the way I'm going to put it. You know, oh, I'm going to get this. I'm going to get this. Yet, we need to wait on God's time. You don't just dump a novice into something that he doesn't have any experience in. So if you take somebody that hasn't done something and is brand new to any sort of situation and drop them into a lead role, a lot of times that doesn't work very well. It doesn't go over. All right. What do we think the overall meaning of this parable was?
That we should pray. And we should be diligent about it.
We should be persistent.
Persistent, that's another good one. It's pretty much all three of those. We're never going to quit. We keep going at it, even though we may not get the answer we want at the time. It's going to continually be there.
It also shows the difference between God and everything else. So I've heard many people I mean, not many, but I've heard people say that God is the unjust judge here. He's not. For one, he's not an unjust judge, but for two, it's showing how the unjust judge, it took her persistence, it took her annoying him for him to even pay attention. Yeah, it says God, who is one that bears along with us, who's caring and concerned, who knows what's going on, how quickly he's going to respond compared to this unjust judge. So, show us comparing the two there.
Yeah, because it would be hard to, and I don't know how you would compare, because I looked into that a little bit. It's like there's no way you can't use God for the unjust because of the way the guy reacted or the way the description of him is. It just doesn't work. All right. Any other comments? Nope. All right. We're going to jump over to Matthew 13, 24 through 30.
Another parable he put forth to them, saying, The kingdom of heaven is like a man who sowed good seed in his field, but while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. But when the grain had sprouted and produced a crop, then the tares also appeared. So the servants of the owner came and said to him, Sir, did you not sow good seed in your field? How then does it have tares? He said to them, An enemy has done this. The servants said to him, Do you want us then to go and gather them up? But he said, No, lest while you gather up the tares, you also uproot the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. And at that time, I will say to the reapers, First gather the tares and bind them in bundles and burn them, and gather the wheat into my barn.
Okay. What did this guy sow?
Wheat.
He sowed wheat, right? All right. Do we sow bad seed?
Sure.
It happens. A lot of times from the farmer's view, when you're looking at, especially we're getting into the time of year when we're going to start planting, and you go out there and you look for the best stuff you can find that's going to grow the best in your area. And that's what you're going to go out and plant. Now, you go out and you plant it. What usually comes up?
What you sow.
What you sow, you want the good stuff out there. About 3 weeks after that, what comes up?
Weeds.
You got the weeds. Nobody likes weeds. Usually try to spray them. Unfortunately anymore, a lot of it's getting immune to it, so it doesn't work as well as it should. But the good seed, what is it?
Son of God. The word.
Each one of us. If you think about it, we're all seed, right? Throughout, because the seed represents everybody. The tares are everybody that isn't following God. If you went through and you ripped out all the tares out of a field, what's that do to the field?
You could take
Morning when the dew was on pretty good, and it was straight roundup, and you walk around your yard pulling dandelions out. What did you just kill?
You killed all the grass you walked on.
Exactly, you killed all the grass you walked on. So you can't pull it out without uprooting and taking some of the good with the bad. And another thing I learned, a lot of what they had problems with was called darnel, was the weed. That's why I brought my handy little paper this morning, because I can probably say it better reading it than I can trying to explain it. The tares are weeds called bearded darnel grass, and I'm not going to try to say the Latin word that they've got for it. These weeds look so much like wheat in early stages that it is almost impossible to distinguish one from another. Not until the plants head out can the farmer tell the difference. But then the roots are so intertwined that you would pull the whole thing up with it. So to pull out the tare, the wheat, the bad seed, you would be killing good seed with it. All right. And it is hard to weed out people in early stages, isn't it? Well, throughout any stage, really, throughout our whole lifetime. What's the difference between what Christ can see or God can see and what man can see?
Right there. Because we can't tell what their hearts are.
Exactly. So a person can be sitting here and you don't know exactly 100% where their heart is, can we? But yet God knows it, knows all. Christ could do the same. All right. I think I already hit that one. You know, there's a lot of similarities to this in the broadcasting of the seed through the wheat ground, the stony ground, and the wayside, on the way things happen and the way it works. We see a lot of similarities between the two. In both of them come up. When you're sowing seed or the word, it can either take root or it doesn't. And there was a lot of likeness to this to me. And, you can tell when somebody hears the word and takes it, because you see them expand and grow. They learn more. But yet you don't see the ones that aren't rooted as deep. You don't really see the growth in them and or how they're acting. A person can act like they want to be here, but in their head, are they? We can't tell. I can't read mine. All right. In this parable, what is the field?
World.
The world. Who's our enemy?
The devil.
The devil, Satan. And then the harvest is when?
End of the world.
End of the world. And who are the reapers?
Angels.
Angels. Somebody's got me word for word. All right. Where did I have the rest of that written? Was just before that. All right, somebody want to read Matthew 13, 37 through 43, please? Messed up there. Should have had that read first.
He answered and said to them, He who sows the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world, the good seeds are the sons of the kingdom, but the tares are the sons of the wicked one. The enemy who sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the age, and the reapers are the angels. Therefore, as the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so it will be at the end of this age. The Son of Man will send out his angels, and they will gather out of his kingdom all things that offend and those who practice lawlessness, and will cast them into the furnace of fire. There will be wailing and gnashing of teeth, and the righteous will shine forth as the son of the kingdom of their Father. He who has ears, let him hear.
Okay. So we just answered everything that I had to read before we read it. So you did a pretty good job answering for a question that I didn't ask or give you scriptures for. What he's talking about, so they've got a full grasp, or the amount of full grasp that they could get out of it. Let's read John 8, verses 38, 41, and 44.
Which verses?
John 8, 38, 41, 44.
And I speak that which I have seen with my Father, and ye do that which ye have seen with your father. 41.
41.
Ye do the deeds of your father. Then said they to him, We be not born of fornication, we have one Father, even God. Ye are of your father, the devil, and the lusts of your father, and ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. And he speaketh the lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it.
All right. You see the ones that aren't following God. What were the Jews at the time of Christ's discussion with these guys? What were the Jews supposed to be doing? Or what should they have been? What's that?
One God.
They should have been following God, right? What did Christ say to them? They weren't. And actually, if you read that clear down through from 37, 38, clear down through there, you get a better understanding of it. But for time purposes, I didn't have you read it all. And the whole of it is they're discussing back and forth with Christ. He's explaining to them that they're not following God, and they thought they were, to the point of them not liking him, wanting to kill him. And that's what he states, is they wouldn't be trying to do the things that they were doing had they been following God the way they should have been. They would have listened to him. And he wouldn't have had to say things in the parables. He wouldn't have had to hide things, and not really hide it as much as they just did not pay attention to what he was saying. They didn't listen to him. All right. Someone want to read Mark 13:27, please?
And then shall he send his angels, and shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from the uttermost part of the earth to the uttermost part of heaven.
Okay. When the reaping time comes, where are they all coming from? Or where are they gonna gather, I guess?
In the air.
Everyone, right? You know, that doesn't exclude people here or in heaven. There's nowhere you can hide, I guess is what I'm gonna bring up and show here. And there's nothing that you can get away from. You know, people think that you know, if God doesn't do anything, then I don't have anything to worry about. There's no consequences. You see people living every day that you know, they're just, when you're dead, you're dead. You know, and I guess if you want to ignore consequences, you can. But every time, usually if you do something wrong, there's a consequence. So, all right, Matthew 25:41.
Then he will also say to those on the left hand, depart from me, you cursed, into the everlasting fire prepared for the devil and his angels.
Okay, these tares. What did they do with tares in the field?
They burnt them.
They
They
burned them.
gathered them and then burnt them.
A lot of what they did with them was, well, and your seed today. I've seen stuff that's been cleaned, or you clean out the combine, you end up with a whole bunch of weed seed, especially if you had a bad field that's really weedy. And generally, you wanted some way of getting rid of that stuff, because if you rebroadcast that, what's it do?
Spreads.
It spreads. So if it goes out the back end of the combine, you just reseeded all the weeds you just tried to kill all year back into the field. So a lot of times, if they go to town, it's not necessarily a bad thing. But during this time, if they were tall enough, they were gathered together, sorted off, and they were burnt. If they could cut above it, they cut above them and then went back in and burnt the whole field, which would kill the seed or destroy the seed. Another thing I learned with this darnel was if they ground it, it was semi-poisonous. So there's a reason to get rid of it. And if a tare takes, excuse me, frog in my throat. If a weed is able to take over, what does it do? And
Chokes everything else out.
It chokes everything else out, right? So you might start with just one or two, but if they get a good hold and a good root, they will choke out everything else. So you don't want to give that the opportunity to take hold. All right? What do we see as the meaning of this parable?
We're gonna live in the world.
Yeah, a lot of it. Well, you saw here, the tares weren't pulled out while they were growing, right? Everything was allowed to grow together. It shows that we're not pulled out of the world, nor the tares pulled out. So you're both allowed to live together. Does God want anybody lost, per se? No. Does he give us all the opportunities to obey him? Excuse me. He doesn't want to put the end of man, basically. He doesn't want to, nobody not to have that chance. There's not going to be a person up there that says that, well, I didn't hear. And I thought it might be down here in the bottom. But there's no one that hasn't heard. By the time the apostles got done, the word had been everywhere. Today, does it go out? I mean, you get online, you get all kinds of stuff. I mean, we broadcast over the internet. There's all kinds of opportunity a person can take if they'll take it, versus those that just don't want to hear it. All right. 1 Corinthians 15:33, please.
Be not deceived, evil communications corrupt good manners.
Okay. The tares, or those that aren't following God, how easily are we pulled away?
Very easily if we're not careful.
We can be pulled away pretty easy. Where it says, the devil goes around as a roaring lion trying to devour all. Yet, is that how he comes to us? No. It can just be little words, little sentences, little stuff that draw you away. It isn't something you go out and just one day decide, well, I'm not going back to church. It's something that draws us slowly. It's a slow pull at times. And the world, what does he really have to do to maintain it? Does he have to work at it any at all? He's got it. He's got a firm grasp on that. It's those that are in the church that he's got to work on. And that's harder. It's not as easy as just, okay, I'm done. It's more of a slow pull to get you pulled away. So we'll be out in the world. We'll see people. We'll be able to talk to people. And we're both allowed here at the same time. All right? Does somebody want to read Matthew 13, 10 through 13, please?
And the disciples came and said to him, "Why do you speak to them in parables?" He answered and said to them, "Because it has been given to you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it has not been given. For whoever has to him, for whoever has, to him more will be given, and he will have abundance. But whoever does not have, even that what he has will be taken away from him. Therefore I speak to them in parables, because seeing they do not see, and hearing they do not hear, nor do they understand."
Okay. Christ here is revealing why he's using parables. And why In verse 13, what did he say there? Kind of sum it up in your own words.
There's some that don't want to hear, no matter what you say, whatever Jesus said to them or showed them, they don't care.
Exactly. There's those out there that just don't care to hear the word. What we saw, those that didn't want to believe Christ, you know, they didn't want to hear it. Otherwise, they'd understood it and followed him versus ignore him and go on. Who did he reveal the word to in this a lot of times? Who are those that actually listen? The apostles. How about all those that he healed? You know, they had to listen a little bit in order to be healed. The healing was a miracle to show his power. But to those that were healed, that would have been a sticking point with you? You know, you knew something happened. It wasn't something that just, and you know, you just come along and one day you're better when you were either blind and couldn't see, lame, couldn't walk, or couldn't hear and was deaf. You know, there's a lot of things there that to heal that, you'd had to have known that there was something bigger about it than just you. All right. Anything else this morning? I won't get into the next point because it'll be too much. Thank you.